Right, this time we're going to be outside. I thought we would start where most of this farm work started, and most of it started with the planting of the seeds. Well, early seed planting, you're all very familiar with the homemade dibbers of an old spade handle and things like that. But for larger areas, this was one of the first. It's called a seed lip. These came in all shapes and sizes. Some were square, some were made of plaited straw rope, same as the beehives were. Chappie would have it suspended round his middle. Some of them had a post there you could hold, and they would broadcast. It's an interesting word, isn't it? Because I'm sure it was used with regard to this before it went for what we take broadcasting to mean today. The seed was broadcast. Some could use both hands, some would use one hand. But the idea was they would have this around their front or their side and just steadily walk up and down a field. You know, it could be all day. Throwing it back. It was quite an art in it to get the pace and the step, because you needed it broadcast evenly. So to get it evenly all over, well, they'd get used to it, but it took a bit of practice, I should think. But that's the very, very early way of doing it. You just throw it on the ground. They advanced from that a little, and amazing how they were aiming to improve all of the time, to make it better, quicker. But this is a little mechanical sower, a neat bit of kit. The seeds went into this bag. I like the way this has been mended, been stitched and cobbled around there. It would be a perfect place for a mouse to spend the winter, which they would have done with seed inside. And so this one, the bag was filled. You could adapt the size of the aperture which it comes out. The seed would fall onto that little pan, and it would rotate and throw the seeds around. Quite useful, probably more evenly spread, unless you were very skilled at at seed sowing. That was a very simple one. One of my favourites is the next one, and this is, you can probably guess by looking at it what it was called. It was called a seed fiddle, because the whole operation was achieved by bowing. So again, you had your little sack full of grass seed, or whatever seed it was. I commented to a visitor one day, I said, the man had actually used them. I said, you couldn't get much grass seed or whatever it was in there. He said, don't worry, laddie. He said, you were carrying the sack of seed on your back to fill up. The size of the aperture for the particular seeds could be varied with one of these gadgets. I'm told that you could do a 12-foot spread with this particular sower. And again, it would be more even than someone who's not sufficiently skilled using it. Well, they gradually developed. I suppose some seeds would need different sorts of machines, but this is quite a simple one. Made by A.W. Gower and Sons, Iron Foundry Agricultural Implement Manufactory at Market Drayton. With this one, you were able to put the seeds in through that little hole. You unscrew it. The machine made a furrow with the blade, dropped the seed in, and you could alter the size of the aperture with that. Swash it right off or open it up. Different sizes. So it made the furrow, dropped the seed in, and this came along behind and covered them in. So you made the drill, dropped the seeds in, that came along behind and covered it up again. This one's very similar to the others, but some would have had 3 or more seed boxes so they could plant more than one drill. And in some would have a projection coming out one side, and from it would be attached like a marker which went along and marked the distance for your next drill when you moved over. This one, the seed went in there. You got a little brush which pushed it through into that one. And again, a disc with different size holes so you could set the aperture for different sized seeds. Yeah, very light, easy to use. Just a variation. Yeah. See, but most of these tools would have been used by market gardeners. We used this one when I was here. If we were planting, say, lots of different wallflower plants or brassicas, you could change the seed you were sowing, and that made it. Well, I don't know how you would do it if you didn't have a machine. But no, this is, I suppose, the deluxe model. A little bit more elaborate. Again, the seeds went into the box. They dropped into the chute. So, as with the others, you made a furrow, dropped the seeds in, covered it in with those 2 feet, and then rolled it a little with the 2 rollers at the back. With this one, the wheel, as it rotated, operated a rod in there. That was turning round too. When that rotated, it meant that this was also rotating. Now on here is one of these, and as it went round, it lifted that up enough to let the seed drop in, or more than one seed probably. I think that one that's on now was 12, spacing at 12 inches. So that one, that was clicking away all of the time as the seed was dropped in. I don't know whether they had the same guide here, but when we were planting at home, our seeds, we reckon put 1 to rot, 1 to grow, 1 for the pigeon and 1 for the crow. So you might get 1 out of 4 successful. With that little lever, you could set the size of the aperture which is inside there. And it's got a little list here. You went to the top, it would be for peas, beans, celery, parsnips, beet, radish. As you operated, you had this clicking going on. and that was 12 inches spacing. With one of these at 3, that would be going like a machine gun all the time as you went along. This is probably one of the more sophisticated seed sowers. Certainly more so than the one I came in with, this little chap. So this one had no cogs, no nothing other than this bar which operated the wheel in there. And that's all it's got, which just gently put the seeds through the aperture down there. Very, very simple. I don't know why this one kind of amuses me. I don't know whether it's it's almost primitive, but it, with all of these things, they had to start somewhere.